Brothers. Thank you for coming.
No problem. No problem. Always happy to come.
Yeah. You saw, I actually saw you on Julian Dory's. We're like pointing at each other like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
No, I saw he did your podcast.
Yeah, he did.
But at his studio. That's what was a little, not confusing, but.
Yeah, no, people always ask me, did I go on Julian's show? And I'm like, no, one day, but no.
Yeah.
No, so I reached out to him. Julian's a good dude. I reached out to him a few years ago, and I'm like, hey, you want to come on the show? And he's like, not only will I come on your show, but you should come to my studio and we'll do an interview. So I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's phenomenal. Yeah. I appreciate how you're very persistent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hardworking. That's why I was like, are you in high school?
No, not anymore. I just graduated. I'm 19 now, so I'm a freshman in college.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's why I was hesitant. When you hit me up, that's the only reason that I was hesitant. Like, I don't know. We consume of cannabis on this podcast normally.
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
It's like we drink. So it's like, do I really want somebody else? But then I watched you and I was like, this guy's intellectual as hell. He could keep up with a conversation. Let's go and have him on. Yeah. So what do you do?
What do I do? I consider myself a D1 adventurer, a D1 explorer of life.
Okay. D3.
I mean, D3.
I'm
fair
like
enough.
D3. Yeah.
Fair enough. No. I mean, I do a lot of things. I like making content. That's the biggest one, right? I love doing the podcast. I'm going to be venturing out into other things. Like I tried doing the vlog for a little bit. Yeah. Content creator is kind of like the most all-inclusive term I could think of because I do a lot of different things, right? I'm thinking of opening up like a merch store soon of like, well, actually, I guess I could plug it now. It's just an idea. Basically, letters from like different, and autographs from different like famous people, right, that I've gotten. I've been thinking of like doing something like that recently. Okay. I've been thinking about doing more content kind of like, the Nelk Boys where it's like, going traveling and exploring different places, like the more fun side of the world. But I mean, whenever people ask me, like, what do you do? And I'm like, what don't I do?
I like that better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Nelk Boys is a good representation. They do everything. Yeah. They have the podcast and, do you have like a group of friends that also make content or is it just you by yourself? I'm starting to. Okay. So, So I have primarily one friend of mine that I actually started another podcast with. It's very small. I haven't really promoted it all that much. It's called the LBGP show or LBGP podcast, and it's for our initials, right? It's Luke Basso and George Peyrouton. And we've interviewed a few different people. It's mainly two guys. It was his name is Stuart Rhodes. He's like the head of the Oath Keepers. He was very
like
close to LGBTQ.
Yeah. And I know we made that joke.
Play,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even a play. It's just our initials.
Coincidence.
Yeah, complete coincidence.
Yeah.
And we interviewed like one guy who was a professional skier, turned to like professional gambler, turned to like, he married a porn star. Super interesting.
Living the dream.
Super interesting life. And like another guy was Stuart Rhodes. He's the head of the Oath Keepers.
Okay.
I don't even know it's like an alt-right organization.
Okay.
We interviewed him, because he responded. We're going to be hosting debates on that channel too between different people of all walks of life. That's going to be interesting. That's another big thing I'm planning on. Okay. I've been working on a lot. I've got a lot of big interviews coming up as well. Yeah. Not going to say with who, but definitely big figures. Yeah. Definitely big figures.
No, I could see you doing big things. I swear, just your persistency and the way that you carried yourself, I'm like, oh, this kid's going to go somewhere one day.
Thank you.
I was like,
I appreciate that.
Even if I have him on my podcast, just the one day be like, I had that kid George on.
Thank you.
Hello there. Sorry to interrupt this beautifully produced podcast, but I'd like to remind you to like, follow, subscribe, share, turn those notifications on. If you like what you're listening to, share with a friend. Share with your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, your neighbor. If you don't like what you're listening to, I really don't know what to tell you. This episode is brought to you in part by Lizards of America, the American lizard. If you want a lizard, you know where to hit us up.
If you are a lizard.
Sorry. You know where to hit us up.
You're already with us.
Yeah.
You know.
If you don't want to like what you're listening to, don't report us to the lizards.
If you need a lizard.
If you need a lizard.
That's actually our main business.
Now let's get back into the show.
I'm a producer for comedy podcasts in the city.
Nice.
That's what I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What's it called? What show?
Legion of Skanks. Okay. True that. In Godfrey We Trust.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Name dropping podcasts in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, everyone should have a podcast.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Well, we live in an attention economy, so you got to get your attention somehow. Build a portfolio. It's a good way of, the podcast, if nothing else, like for me, I kind of see it as it's a way of building your portfolio.
Yes.
Of like, oh, what do you do? Well, I interview millionaires. I interview, I've interviewed Holocaust survivors, veterans. I interview everybody.
Wow, it is a portfolio because now you just have an access, Rolodex with all of those contacts and those people as well to follow up with and send your sales call or whatever it is in the situation that's happening.
Yeah, in the future. Yeah. Always a great thing.
Yeah. Content creation is getting out of hand. I feel like live streaming is the future.
In some ways. In some ways.
In what ways not?
Okay. Well, so live streaming itself, no, but what's downstream from live streams, yes.
Okay.
Not live streams directly, and this is where a lot of people, I think, misunderstand it. Nobody actually watches an 8-hour live stream. At least I don't. Everyone's watching the 2-minute clips at most. Right, or the most important clips, right? So, with that being said, a guy like Clavicular, right, who's going very big right now, you're probably not even going to watch his podcast, right? Maybe you'll watch his podcast, but you're not going to be watching his actual live streams, right?
Yeah.
He's not doing anything. Nobody's interesting for 8 hours, 24 hours a day.
You're correct.
Yeah. So, the answer is people are watching clips. So, live streaming is not the future. It's everything that comes from live streaming, like clips and short form content, I would say.
And just pushing stuff out that way.
Yeah, which is, again, goes into like the attention economy you mentioned. It's like every video is like, I remember, there's like a formula to be famous now, right? I mean, like I've spoken to people that have like 900,000 followers, millions of followers. They all kind of say like, oh, well, you got to keep your video like 15 seconds short. It's like people's attention spans are like dog shit nowadays. It's like 15 seconds. You have to have a hook right there in the first couple of seconds. Apparently music has changed as well, I've heard, where it's like artists will now have their music be like within like the big part of the music will have to be like within the first couple seconds to keep people's attention, right? It's not like, I don't know, maybe you'll notice it if you've ever listened to like 70 songs compared to like 2020 songs, right? The music's completely different. It's like one is like a slow build up, the other one's like
an interlude, a build up, and that one's drop the bass.
Right. Yeah. No, people's attention spans are shit nowadays. Yeah.
I agree. It is moving into a more short form content. Even I, who watch live streams, I'm not watching the entire 8-hour live stream.
Yeah.
No one's doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I hope not.
Or even if you watch it, like there's probably like 80,000 people in the live streams, but then the short clips that you're saying actually get millions and billions of views for these people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the same thing goes for Mr. Beast. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't really like Mr. Beast's content. I know, shocker. Everybody tell that. They're like, George, why didn't you watch Beast Games? And I'm like, because I didn't care, right? I don't know. I loved his older content, but his newer content's like just not for me. I don't know. It feels like for little kids. I don't know. Maybe I'm like...
Not is, but...
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's built for it.
Yeah.
So...
Do you know Steve will do it?
Yeah, of course I love Steve will do it.
I feel like he's like a grown-up Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
He just dropped the Fuck Mr. Beast song.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, no, I love Steve will do it.
Yeah.
I would love to be on one of his shows. He seems like a cool dude.
He does, yeah. But why don't you like Mr. Beast? Oh, because he's a kid. He makes very generic mainstream things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's not talk bad about the Beast.
Yeah. No, I'll have him on the show.
I want to go on a Beast game.
Listen, I'll have him on the show. I'll go on. I don't know. I've heard good things about him in private, to be fair. So I'm not gonna like completely shit on Jimmy, but
yes, Jimmy. No.
I don't. Yeah, I don't like his content. Yeah. It's not for me. Now, would I be a part of his content? Sure. Yes, I don't mind it, but it's more the long form content I actually don't like. The short form content I actually like more because it's actually more entertaining. It gets to the point a little bit faster, and it has more of like an actual purpose, whereas it's just like, oh, like, who'd win a competition, like 100 guys, 100 girls. I'm like, I don't really care. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I also think he's kind of running out of ideas, but that's like a really hot take.
No, that's it's possible.
Yeah.
He was saying how his short clips, he actually doesn't even speak in the first couple his best performing short form videos is when he doesn't even speak. Like, that's how good that the hook is, like the visual hook and the activities that he's doing. Yeah. He doesn't even need to speak in those videos, and those short videos, like, perform way better than other videos.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast is a savage.
He's a savage. Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely not a normal person, though, I would say.
No.
Yeah, no. People like him are wired completely differently. I've said this many times, where it's like someone like him, you can strive to be like him all you want. There's very few people that are actually like him. You have to be a very, 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 what's it called, special kind of person to be that way. Very, very Rain Man-esque, if you will.
Very robotic-like.
Yeah, very robotic.
I was trying to think of the right words, too.
Machine-like, some might say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast is cool. My favorite streamer is Speed, probably, though.
Yeah, I liked his older content. I don't like him as much now. Now he's also like kind of like mainstream, not as a himself, but he does kind of what you have to do to get bigger. Yeah. I probably do the same thing if I was in his position. I'm not gonna sit here and shit on him either. But like, and again, Mr. Beast and Ice Speed are both much more successful than I am.
You could shit on these guys all you want.
I know. They're probably never gonna see his video. But like, either way, I don't mind either of them as people. I mind them. I just don't really like their new content. Really.
I understand.
Yeah, I love Mr. Beast's old videos.
Yeah.
I loved watching his old videos. I also loved Aisha Speed's videos. Not as much now. Now it's just like, I don't know. It just seems very generic, more boring, if anything, because it's, you have to appeal to more people over time. It's just not for me. But
so the future's short form content.
Yeah. Yeah. I watch more short form content.
Me too.
Yeah.
What are you on?
What in what sense? Like what am I
like
watching?
Social media. What does your content intake look like? What is the intake machine besides your phone? But like what?
Instagram. Instagram's a big one. I like Instagram. It's probably not the healthiest one though. A healthy one would be probably YouTube and long form content.
Yes.
That's the actual healthy answer.
Yeah.
But it's like eating a salad versus eating McDonald's every day. You're gonna want to eat McDonald's every day.
Yeah. Well, I would say X is like McDonald's.
Yeah.
So you're like at a night. You're like a Applebee's or Chili's with Instagram. Yeah. X is completely.
Yeah.
It's unfiltered. Yeah,
it's completely unfiltered. That's an interesting platform. It just feels like the old days of a live leak and
just go do what you got to do.
Yeah, just like whatever content, so long as it's not like straight up illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that there's a platform for people who feel that they should do that to go and do that. Those things on.
I agree, but it does get kind of interesting to see like when you let people post whatever they want, all the things that actually go viral.
Okay.
Which is like, I think.
Yes, it's so true.
Which is kind of sad, but it's like what actually goes viral is like really, really horrific shit.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know what that says about people.
It's just vulgar, yeah. Or what it says about that algorithm or the people that are attracted to that platform.
Yeah.
Because it gets engagement.
It does, yeah. I mean, it gets a lot of money too.
Probably bots, but.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, have you seen the videos where it's like, or the posts where it basically shows the location of where like every account is actually from.
Okay.
And it's like, it's very, okay, well basically there's these posts that'll show where like every account is actually from, because there's now a feature where you can actually like click and see where accounts are like actually hosted in.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see that like a lot of racist content tends to be from like India or like third world countries. It's like not actually real, like.
Or from Russia.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, and it's like, well, to what extent is any of this actually real? To what extent do people actually believe this? Yeah. I know. It's very, very, very interesting.
No, that is very interesting. I've read another stat, something similar. It's like 2 out of every 3 accounts are actually bot accounts. It's like over 50% of the accounts you see interacting with, they're not even real people.
Well, it's the dead internet theory, which I consider to be just the dead internet, really.
Which is
what we're living in, because, well, have you heard of the dead internet theory?
That's what I asked.
Yeah, so the dead internet theory is this concept that the internet as we know it doesn't really exist, in the sense of there's not really people on the internet anymore. It's all majority bots. So when you actually go on the internet, it's a drastically lower number of people that are actually using it and interacting with each other than you would think, right? It's actually almost entirely bots that are just posting and basically just posting, creating content,
and then reacting to themselves.
Yeah, and then reacting to themselves, and which is actually, it's kind of funny because that's kind of like the end stage of industrialization, which is like just robots making things for robots, right?
That is their end goal.
Yeah, well,
not their end goal, but that is the dystopian fear of everyone, is that the robots are just running everything, controlling themselves.
Well, it's just robots producing shit for robots, right? Which is also the end stage of capitalism. The logical conclusion of capitalism is just products creating things for other products, which is a very like weird concept.
Yeah, wouldn't they would create some sort of robotic capitalistic society?
Well, robots can't really think. Right, so this is
naturally they would just make that happen.
Well,
they would just create better versions of their own robots.
In theory, yeah. Well, but it's just endless production to no end.
Some robots will start selling robot parts to other robots.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just endless production to no end, which is the logical conclusion of capitalism. It's just endlessly producing things for each other to no end. It's endless production for the sake of production, right? It's not producing things so that things can get better, or for a result. It's just producing things to produce things. Yeah. Endless profit to no end, whoever can make the most. And then eventually that just leads to robots running everything, because robots are the most efficient, on paper at least. Yeah.
Have you been up to date with like the new robots going out there?
No,
like
I don't believe
like Tesla has a robot. there's like a Nexus robot, like all the streamers right now are testing out this robot that can like do your laundry.
Yeah.
It could carry things.
Yeah. That's going to destroy society. I'll tell you why.
Why?
So, I have been on a very big anti-industrialized society kick recently.
I love that.
Thank you. So, very, very controversial man. Ted Kaczynski, Industrial Society in the Future.
Keep talking.
Right.
You're in a comfy space here with this.
Yeah. So, he theorized many, many years ago that basically society would eventually collapse in on itself and everyone become ultra depressed and basically suicidal because there's no purpose for the average person because of industrialized society, right? So a good example of this would be like school, right? So it's like, or actually no, I'm sorry. The root of his theory is about power, right? So it's like in what circumstance can a normal person express their power, right, in the everyday life? And the answer is that they can't, right? And then even in an everyday way where it's like, you know, I don't know, doing your own laundry, right? Or like washing your own dishes. It's like, well, we have robots to do that for you. And it's like, okay, so what's my purpose? Okay, well, you work a job. Okay, well, you work a job that you don't really see the end result of the labor of, and which is a big one. That's a big one.
That is a big one.
Yeah, because it's like, well, there's no reward technically. There's no actual reward. It's just the reward is money, which you don't even see immediately. You see it at the end of like maybe a week.
Gratification a lot, yeah.
So then it's like, okay, well, even with that, you could still say, well, you get to raise your kids. And it's like, well, you don't even really get to do that because school is taking them for 8 hours a day, right? And it's like, so what's really what's anybody's role, right? In any part of society, and especially now when you're factoring in most jobs will just be taken by robots. It's like, well, now there's really no purpose for you.
Yeah.
And so and this is actually something like the Amish have kind of theorized about, where it's like people look at the Amish and they're like, oh, what a goofy group of people. It's like, well, actually, no. The whole idea of their philosophy or religion, I should say, is that it's not about, get rid of all technology. It's about reducing technology to its most minimal. Like they'll have like a car per community, right? Yeah. They still drive. But the idea is, to what extent do you actually need technology? Yeah. And to what extent is most technology destroying communities? Because if you have like, this is going to sound like a funny one, but like the dishwasher or the laundry machine. It's like, well, 500 years ago, people would be doing their laundry together. People would be like cooking together, right? And it's like, well, now you have machines and devices to do that for you. So it's like, well, that's a gigantic amount of your community removed, right? And that also gets into the fact that we live in a very, very, very harm reduction society. It's like, don't go out late at night, don't go, like for kids especially, which is both good and bad, because it's like, don't go here, don't do this, don't do that, be as safe as possible. And then like, well, what's the result of that? It's like, well, now nobody does anything. Nobody goes outside. Nobody, actually.
Which is what he was saying.
Which I'll tell you something crazy. My elementary school, back when I was going, they banned tag, right? Because it was.
The game tag.
Yeah, because it was too dangerous, right? So it's like.
What?
So the point that I'm getting at here is like, when you have a world that you can't express power in, you can't express freedom in, and then on top of that, you factor in robots in this very, very small sense of like, to most people, where it's like, now you're not even going to be allowed to drive your car, right? Or rather, not allowed, maybe allowed isn't the right word, but the norm is not going to be you drive your car on your own. And nobody's going to want to make their life harder, right? Like, why would you want to make your life harder, right? It's like, just let the car drive. It's like, well, I'll just sit back, take a nap. It's like, well, why would I want to be the odd one out, right? Everyone else is doing it. That's where like a lot of friends of mine.
That's where it's going to go.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of friends of mine who like don't have social media. It's like, well, I don't want to be the odd one out. It's like, you kind of have to have social media now, right? Like, how many, like, for example, when it comes to like guys and picking up chicks, that's a big one where it's like, no guy wants to be like, if a guy asks for a girl's number, it's like, it's almost like weird now, where it's like, it used to be completely normal. Now it's like, oh, what's your Snapchat?
Or what's your Instagram?
Yeah. And then it's like, which is like the most impersonal. So it's like, well, where does that end? It's like,
true. What's the point of even asking for anything if I'm just going to get a public page?
Yeah. So it's like, well, now, so it's like you're forced to get social media. You're forced to, have robots run your house.
You lose your community. Yeah. You lose your sense of producing something.
Yeah. So eventually it's like you lose all purpose. And then it's like, well, what's the end result of that? It's like, well, societal collapse. It's like, I mean, that's probably like
that's the extreme. Yeah.
Well, but it's kind of funny because it's like people don't see it. It's in the micro. It's on the macro.
Yes.
People tend to think of things like, oh, well, how is, the world going to end because of like this country or this country? It's like, well, society could collapse based on very, very micro details, right? Based on one very
exactly.
Exactly. Right. And I mean, to be fair with America's done, I would say, pretty well as an industrialized society. I mean, there's never been an America without an industrialized society, right? There's never been, because the Industrial Revolution happened in 1760.
Really?
Yeah, it happened in 1760.
I thought it was like 1860.
No, okay. No, it was 1760. So for all of America's existence,
that's all they know.
Yeah, it's all we know. Yeah. Furthermore, this is a very fun
That's
fact.
all they know. Like, I'm not American. That's all you guys know. That's all we know is trains, automobiles, and cars. Yeah.
Which, again, I'm not complaining about, but it's like when you tell people, it's like, well, industrialized society has ruined a lot of aspects of the world. People tend to look at me and they're like, well, George, I don't understand how the hot water and, the fucking whatever, the what's it called? Like the cars.
The ease of convenience that you have.
Yes, basically how the ease of convenience has ruined people's lives. And it's like, well, it's not even about the ease of convenience. It's about the removal of you having the freedom to do anything, right? It's about the removal of you having the power to express in your own life. And it's like, well, what do you do when you can't express power in your own life? Especially when it comes to like men, it's like, well, they just kind of
Ted Kaczynski.
Well, no, you commit suicide for a lot of that.
That's the majority.
Yeah, exactly. Which that also leads into like incels, right? Incels are a big one. Where it's like,
that's what I'm more meant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, well, what do you have when it's like you can't play sports? You can't, because it's like, I don't know, it's too dangerous. You can't. You can't talk to anybody on a sincere, genuine level, right? Because everything has to be through a screen.
Yeah.
On a very you'll be working at home. You're not even like meeting with people. That's very dystopian. It's like, oh, well, I never have to go out of my house. Like, you can live literally from your house for your entire life. That's pretty fucking horrible.
That is DoorDash everything in.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what used to, and this is where again, like,
it creates it manifests this bubble for an incel to be comfortable in.
Well. It begs the question, and this is where I think like a lot of people need to understand incels better. It's like, well, where does inceldom actually come from, right? So there's like a couple paths. So like, let's say, I don't know, you're a normal, average, straight guy, right?
Me.
What? Yeah, exactly. Me too. Yes.
I would like to think.
Yes. No. So what do you do? Okay. So like, let's say you have a crush for the first time. You ask out a girl, right? Now, if she says yes, great, there's nothing wrong with you, right? And the girl likes you, and then you might date for a little bit, and then, I don't know, you'll learn your lesson if, you fuck up, but whatever. If you're really lucky, you'll be like Messi, you'll be dating the same girl from when you're 12 years old and become the richest man, but, that's not the majority of people, right? The more likely thing is that she says no, right? Now, there's a couple opportunities from there where you can take your life. It's either you say, listen, I need to improve myself, I need to work out more, I need to maybe develop better social skills. I need to become funnier. I need to become more popular. I need to get more money. Like
whatever your thing is.
Yes. Then there's maybe there's something wrong with her. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she's a lesbian. Maybe she's, just a rude person. Maybe, I don't know, she doesn't like me. Maybe I'm just not her type, whatever. But then you move on and then you kind of like go to another girl, right? And then you kind of continue that process until you find someone. Then there's the third option, which is incels, which is, well, there's something wrong with women and therefore I shouldn't try, right? Or there is another part of it, which is like the inverse of the first one, which is there's something wrong with me, so therefore I shouldn't try, which is the black pill, which is unless if I'm genetically basically a god, women don't like me.
What's the point of trying?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of men reach that conclusion because it's like, well, and then we get into like the 80-10 rules, and this is like statistically proven where it's like, the majority of women only go for like top 20% of men or top 10% of men. On dating apps, it's like top 10%. The inverse is also true for women where it's like, I remember I did a whole study on this where it's like, why is the dating market failing? Or I did a whole research paper. I did 2 research papers, one on why modern dating is failing and one on why industrialized society is shit. The first one, but the first one, it's like, well, take the internet. The internet is the biggest accelerator of whoever and whatever you actually naturally are. Right? So if you're naturally a super attractive guy or a super popular guy, you will be very popular on the internet, right? Very. Like I've met guys that are like club promoters and, naturally popular, naturally gives
you should put that in a saying, I swear, like a quote, like a Maxwell's equations, like the more good looking a man is, the better he does on the internet.
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah. Well, same thing with women.
Or women, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, just attraction.
I'm a man, so I'll just assume man. But you get what I mean.
So it's like the more maybe he's not good looking at all. Well, maybe he's funny, right? Whatever. Like, maybe he's like a Joe Rogan where he's not like the most attractive guy in the world, but it's like he's super funny and he has great social skills. Yeah. So what's the conclusion? And it's like, well, he becomes popular, right? People tend to like him because of that. Where it's like, and that's what the internet does, right?
Women especially.
Yeah. But it accelerates that. It accelerates everything you are. So the inverse is also true. If you're not a popular person, if you're kind of doing shit in life in general, then it's like, well, nobody's talking to you because everyone's going somewhere else where the most popular people are, because everyone is aware of where everybody's standing socially, which is another major reason why the internet is kind of shit, because it's like, why
it just reinforces that circle too of those people, like that guy who just sees the other guys living their life. They're like, I can never be like them, and then it creates them more to become more isolated and more.
Well, what's the point of settling when you can always reach for the top? Right? And that's kind of what the internet's done in the worst possible way, where instead of actually preaching like, okay, well, you can work hard and then you can reach the top, it's just preached, well, if you just take everything to its most extreme and become the best possible person, then you will be a little bit happy. And it's like, well, the logic, like that's what it is. It's like, well, unless I take steroids and, you know, fucking absolute, like, work hard in the gym every single day of my life, make $1 million and all this, I'm not going to win. Right? And it's like, unless you're literally the best of the best or a woman, right? A man or a woman, right? Unless I get plastic surgery, unless I do this, unless I get a fucking butt lift.
Comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah. I'm not going to win. And it's like, that's not how a normal society is supposed to be. Well, who's around you? You compare to who's around you. And it's like, well, and this is like also about like porn addiction too, where it's like a lot of guys, women, it's like they look at who's the most attractive person in movies and porn, and they go, well, if my woman or my man does not look like that, then why would I go for them, right? So it's like basically created this weird caste system of like only ultra attractive people or like the average person, right?
Yeah.
It's very weird. So ultimately,
it's extremely weird.
So it's like there's not even like room for like average looking people anymore. It's either you're the best looking or you have nothing, right?
Imagine like modern day royalty for some reason. But not really. Like the plebs are looking up at these people who are like in a whole different aspect of society in a way. Not necessarily, but
but literally, I mean, that's like the average position for a man now. Or for most people, but especially for men, which have like, I would say historically have not basically been, what's it called? Well, here's the difference. The ultimate difference is that like men need to kind of like work harder for their positions, right? It's just kind of the truth.
Agree.
It's not a bad thing, right? But it's like, they have to just do a little bit more to get status, right? Much in the same way when it comes to like on Tinder, for example, there's so much beyond just looks as well that goes into status. I'll give you an example. Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was not my cup of tea, super unattractive guy, I would say, right?
So most people would say.
Yeah. Yet he would sleep with supermodels, right? And it's like, well, that guy kind of doesn't even exist now in a weird way, where it's like, unless you're like super ultra rich or super like, and you can't even be politically powerful and do something like that anymore, because it's like, look what happened to Bill Clinton. It's like, you're
gonna get exposed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it all gets exposed. Like you can't do anything in private, and it's like, I don't know. Our society is very weirdly obsessed and like afraid of sex, like at the same time.
So true. I'm learning that, especially the younger generation. I feel like is actually more not afraid of, but maybe not exposed to as much.
I wouldn't even say,
or maybe too exposed that they know everything, and now they're like they think they know everything, and then when they actually go through the sexual experiences or whatever experiences, it's not how they've imagined it in their head. Yeah, and then they go through.
Well, it's kind of like there's like a Joe Rogan comedy quote where he's like, "Listen, everybody jerks off. But if you get caught jerking off, you're a fucking loser."
You're a weirdo.
And it's like, well, why?
Wow.
Right? There's
good though.
Yeah, but it's like, well, why? Like, why are we like so obsessed with sex? Where it's like, oh, everybody. I mean, most people, like healthy people, are going to be having sex or masturbating or expressing themselves sexually in some way. So it's like, why are we like so afraid if like one guy does this one thing? Like, I don't know. It's like, does the president getting a blowjob really affect my life? No. I would actually be surprised if he wasn't.
I'd be disappointed if he wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. No.
That's my president. Somebody should be taking care of that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, well, isn't that kind of like the ultimate, like, I don't want to say like a male power fantasy, but it's like, a guy gets with a secretary. A very rich man has sex with a secretary. It's like, that's happened all throughout history.
Yes.
Right? And not even in like some like, oh, well, he took advantage. Like, not even that. It's just like, well, this is kind of what happened. Yeah. Right?
The woman, that's also just as much as it's the fantasy for the man, it's the fantasy for the woman as well.
Exactly. Right. It's like, well,
man in power I could never get, but I can get because I'm in this position right now, close to him.
Exactly. Well, there's also like a thrill, like a risk to it. Like, oh, we don't want people to find out. Like, and everyone knows it, but nobody wants to say it. Like, because, a lot of people need to understand that, like, this is kind of funny, but it's like
I'm gonna say everybody needs to understand this.
But it's like a big part of like, well, why are things sexualized? It's because they're secret. So it's like if you expose everything, then it's like, well, there's no secret, and there's like no, I don't know. It becomes like this very weird dynamic where it's like, actually, here's a good quote. I think it's by Oscar Wilde. And I don't know how I feel about Oscar Wilde, but there is a quote that he had where it's like, everything in life is about power. I'm sorry. Everything in life.
That's a Robert Greene quote.
No, it's
that's the 48 Laws of Power.
No, it's a different quote. It's everything in life is about sex, except for power. I'm sorry, except for sex. Sex is about power.
Wow, right? I like that. Something like that.
Yeah, and it's like every sexual dynamic is in relation to a power dynamic of some kind, right? You know, sadism, masochism, submissive domination. So it's like that extends to like every part of society as well. Actually, it's kind of interesting, but a lot of what's it called? And this is something like a friend of mine and I've kind of discussed, where it's like, it's funny how like all these people in like super, super high positions of power tend to be like very masochistic, whereas like people that are like not very successful, like incels, tend to be like into more sadistic things. That's
Wait, can you say that one more time? People who are incels are into weirder things?
Like more sadistic things. Like they want to hurt people in their sexual fantasies.
Okay,
like,
yes.
Which
rather than the high.
Whereas like much more successful people tend to be like into more masochistic things.
Yes.
Right? I don't know. It's a super, super interesting.
Sounds like they're trying to take their frustrations out from the world in their proclivities.
That's part of it, but then this also gets into like the secrecy thing I'm saying, where it's like, well, what don't you have in your personal life? Where it's like, if you don't have power in your personal life, well, what do you do?
It out there.
You express it in a sexual way, which is also why, like, you know, what's it called?
Or if you have too much power, you want to release it.
Yeah, and you want
to give it to someone else.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that what you were going to say?
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's because it's kind of interesting because it's like all these powerful men, whenever they get exposed for like their sexual fantasies, for the most part, tends to be like super, super masochistic things where it's like also really fucked up and like.
I was going to get into detail. Yeah, but exactly.
Another thing is also interesting political differences, where it's like I remember something like conservative men tend to be like more into like gay and like transgender.
What do you mean more into?
Like, for example, I remember it was like there's like a study where it's like at like a Charlie Kirk rally, right? Or like a Trump rally is like apps like Grindr tend to go like off the fucking charts, right? And there's been like like Nick Fuentes, I think, like it's almost confirmed that he's gay.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because they actually, because they hide it. It creates this unspoken thing that makes men go do things like that instead of.
I would say it's more of a thrill thing of like, well, what's forbidden? What can't I do? Right? Because in their minds, like to conservative men, it's like, what's the big forbidden? Being trans, being gay. So it's like,
let's push that button.
So it's like, oh, well, there's like a thrill, there's a forbiddenness, and this is what I was saying with secrecy. It's where it's like sex is all about secrecy. It's all about like being a little bit forbidden, right? It's like, you know, the naughty, like, you know,
that's what makes it,
being a little bit bad. Now you can't be like fucking horrible, right? Because then there's then it's just disgusting, right? Unless you're really fucked up. But the opposite is also true, where it's like liberal men tend to be very, very sadistic, right? And that gets into like people in like positions of power. I forget his name, but it's like, you know, Stalin, you know, always had like a bunch of concubines, was like a massive pedophile.
I didn't know that about Stalin.
Yeah, he was a massive pedophile. I'm pretty sure he was like married. He was like dating a 14-year-old girl, which is very interesting. And like streamers like Destiny and Hassan Piker, where it's like, you know, I don't know much about Hassan, but I heard like Destiny was like into revenge porn, right? By a friend of mine. It's like, well, I wonder, because like that's a guy that's like, you know, always for women, you know, like super, super women's rights. And it's like, and this guy's into revenge porn. It's like, well, why? And it's like, well, that's just his release, where it's like, you know, if you think about like the dynamics where it's like conservatism about personal power, the dynamics of like their ideologies, where it's like conservatism and is about personal power, like power in general. It's about hierarchies, you know, personal power. You know, these are all like branches of the right, whereas like branches of the left, it's all about like not having power. It's about giving power to someone else, the government, you know, each other, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what happens? It's like, well, then how that gets expressed sexually is that one becomes very sadistic and the other one becomes very, very masochistic. It's a very long tangent, but it was just something interesting.
It's a great observation. It's true. Yeah. Not that it's true, but you're right. It does make sense that people on the liberal side would be way more into people being open and loving than people on the right who are like, let's get power and domination out of this.
Well, it's the other way around. It's the other way around is what I'm saying. I'm saying conservatives in their normal lives
want to give power up.
No, they want
to be hand-tied and cuffed to the bed and give the woman power so that she can do...
Yeah, it's sexually, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you might have confused it too. I'm saying, because I'm saying in their sexual personal lives, in their sexual lives, they want to give a power, where it's like, on the opposite end, and this is also like something true in general, where it's like people that are more dominant in their personal lives tend to be more submissive in their sexual lives and vice versa. And that literally extends to political ideologies. It's super fascinating.
Yeah. You have a girlfriend or no?
Not yet. That's the right answer.
Looking for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Not looking though right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Always open, but not looking.
Yeah. I like to ask people, see where their head's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello there. Sorry to interrupt this beautifully produced podcast, but I'd like to remind you to like, follow, subscribe, share, turn those notifications on. If you like what you're listening to, share with a friend. Share with your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, your neighbor. If you don't like what you're listening to, I really don't know what to tell you. This episode is brought to you in part by Lizards of America, the American lizard. If you want a lizard, you know where to hit us up.
If you are a lizard. Sorry.
You know where to hit us up.
You're already with us.
Yeah.
You know.
If you don't want to like what you're listening to, don't report us to the lizards.
If you need a lizard.
If you need a lizard.
Actually, our main business.
Now let's get back into the show.
How do you feel about this administration? We brought that up too.
Not a super big fan.
Okay.
Not going to go into too much detail of that.
Do you like talking politics or no?
No, not like super hard politics.
Me
no.
either, yeah. How about religion?
Yeah, I can talk religion.
Oh, yeah. We don't have to, but
yeah.
I feel like religion's taking a crazy turn.
In what sense?
In the sense that it went from like when I was growing up, everyone wanted to be like an atheist. Nobody wanted to believe in religion.
It was a cool kid on the block, yeah.
And then now it's like, it's just the kids on the block don't believe in anything.
Like nowadays, everyone.
Yeah. Before it was not cool to not believe in anything. Now it is cool to not believe in anything.
Yeah. Well, Christians are, they're making a revival, though. It's kind of the interesting thing. The majority of people are atheists, but like Christians are like making a comeback.
They are.
And
Christian comeback.
Yeah. But here's what's kind of bad about that. And this also gets into like this gets into a couple of things. Number one, our society is like the first like true secular atheist society. Every other society in history has
plays around with it.
Well, they've had aspects of secularism.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but they've never had true secularism. Never like a true hatred of the spiritual, right? Across every society of humanity. Even Asian societies, which have been primarily, like not monotheistic, right? To some extent secular, right? They still have a belief in the supernatural, like almost like the Force, right? The forces of like order and harmony, right? Which to some extent are supernatural.
Star Wars.
Yeah, basically.
No, yeah, it
exactly.
is a universal, all-controlling being, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Universal, all-controlling being.
Unspoken.
Yeah, right. The Tao Te Ching talks all about this, right? And then you get like the others versions of that where it's like Buddhism, where it's like, who created the universe? I don't care. It's like, how do I become enlightened, right? How do I reach above my human desires?
Nirvana, yeah.
Right. But even that's a form of the supernatural because they still had a belief in the afterlife, a belief of what comes next. They've also had spiritual experiences, right? I do, if I'm not mistaken, they also discovered marijuana, which this is kind of a funny conversation. I heard this from Joey Diaz. I have no idea if this is true. I like to think it is, but it's like what's it called? There was a guy who basically like started smoking weed in Asia because he's like, oh, this makes me feel good. It makes me like want to like write more and stuff like that. And then I don't know. It was something to that effect. I don't know as much about the Asian history of psychedelics, but I do know that there is some relation. But the point is that even Asian societies, which are like historically super duper secular, at least in the modern era, and super hard against religion, were still very, very spiritual at one point, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then you get in the West, where it's like, if you want to talk about religion, it's like Christianity, Islam, Judaism. It's like everything. It's like, but everybody believed in it, right? And it's like every society, even original America, right, was not that secular, right? It was founded on Christian principles, right? Again, much in the same way, the East was founded on like basically like the laws of order and harmony, yes. Right? And it's like, well, a lot of the West was founded upon humility before God, right? Basically humility before God, right? To simplify it down, right? Through Jesus, right? Now, with that being said, this is the first society where it's like we really hate religion, like we actively despise it as the norm,
Yes.
right?
Not God, but you're right, religion specifically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, primarily Christianity as well, which is like, I don't know. I find it very interesting. But that also gets into like Spangler. You know Spangler? Yeah. Spangler is like a philosopher who talked about like social sciences and, the cycles of society, basically. And basically what he's...
I've heard of that theory of the cycles of society.
Yeah. So it's like the beginning of a society will mirror the end of a society. And it's like the beginning of America was a heavily Christian nation, right? Had a huge Christian uprising. And in the middle, it's like super secular. It's like super secular. Like nobody believes in God. Like you believe in God, like you're anti-science. Like Richard Dawkins, like I can't stand. I'll talk to him, but I can't stand him. Richard Dawkins, who's like, there's no God, 100%. Anybody who believes in God is a fucking idiot. Stephen Hawking comes out, he says the same thing, right? And, this ultra, mega belief in evolution, anti-creationism, basically it's everywhere.
These people are rebelling from the previous generation.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden now it's like everyone's believing Christianity. It's like, well, why? It's like, well, what else is there, right? It's like, because people I think are coming to the conclusion of like, well, what else is there?
You just had me believe in nothing for so long. It's like, I need something to believe in.
Right. Well, I think humans are built to worship. And it's like...
I agree.
Yeah, and which is also...
I feel like they want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
Which is a community, and worship just happens to be that.
Yeah.
Fulfiller.
Well, that gets into like why communism in and of itself is a religion, right? Because communism is built...
Let's get into it.
Yeah, so communism is built on inherent falsehood that everything and everybody's equal, right? And therefore everything deserves equal treatment, which isn't true. So as a result, it's like you could argue that the entire foundation of it is faith-based, right? There's apparently also been studies that when people argue for communism, it lights up the same parts of their brain as religion.
Wow.
Have you ever debated a communist?
No.
Okay.
I've never debated.
And if you've
no one would ever debate me.
Well, if you've ever debated a communist, you'll oftentimes hear, well, it wasn't applied right. Well, you just didn't. Yes. It just wasn't done the right way. Oh, well, if you read more communism, if you understood it the right way, it's not from there, and there's a difference between believing in something and understanding something, right? I like to think I understand, and I also believe Christianity. I don't believe it. Do I understand it? I think so. I think pretty well as a religion. So Christianity, so I believe it, right? But there's people that believe it but don't understand it, right?
We're saying communism and Christianity. Yeah.
So what Christians do, if you've ever argued with like a religious old lady, and if you've ever argued with her and you're like, hey, well, why does I don't know, I don't really believe in God. Like, let's say you say that to her answer is going to be, well, you should read the Bible. And it's like, why? And then she's like, well, because if you do, you'll understand, it'll come to you, right? And it's like, well, why? And like it'll just come to you, right?
Very similar to
much in the same way. If you argue with communists, right, they'll basically say the exact same thing, which is if you just read the fucking book and you do it right, then if you don't fuck it up, it'll all become true, right? Yeah. And there's no inherent logical argument. It's just well, if we do this thing, that what's it called, if you just read it, if you just believe, then it'll work. If we just in this perfect society, it'll work. And it's a religion, right? It's inherently not true.
It is.
Apparently there's also I mean, again, if you ever argue with them, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. It's a purely almost like spiritual, it's basically a substitution for spirituality. And that's kind of what I've come to, where it's like atheism and the rise of atheism kind of like as a I don't know where that really came from. I am kind of curious. I've thought about it. I think part of that is also like the nanniness of like modern Christianity, where it's like, don't do this, don't do that. And the counter reaction to that is, well, I just don't believe in God.
That's what I was saying. Like, they're just rebelling against the previous generation's beliefs.
Yeah. Well, also too, it's like, I don't know. I've debated atheists, and a lot of times their arguments boil down to, there's no proof of a God. And it's like, well, my counterpoint, or there's no, and they kind of disregard arguments for the spiritual as well, which is kind of weird. I've noticed it's where it's like the CIA, I mean, we can get like very conspiratorial here. The CIA.
That's where I live.
Yeah. The CIA, through Project Stargate and like various other things, proved that the spiritual world exists, right? That's like objectively true. Every other society in history had some existence of the spiritual, right? And it wasn't like some magic. It wasn't something that like, people, because this is what another thing that like, I don't know, I guess like, I don't know if it's an atheist thing or like modern science, because I also don't like modern science and modern academia. Okay. But they tend to believe that everybody was just stupid in the past. Everything we fucking did was they just say everybody's fucking stupid in the past. No, nothing was that in the past ever was said was logical. And it's like, really? Like, everybody was stupid? Like, there's not one smart person that said, this is like, you know, I don't know, this kind of seems like bullshit, or like, and they're like, yeah, and then those people like were right in the end. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense as a narrative of like everybody's stupid all the time throughout history, right? Because if that's the case, then everybody's stupid now to this day, and it's like, well, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't just change, right? So, to what extent, what's it called? Atheism, you know, I think atheism is partly a counter-reaction to the naniness of Christianity. I think that's a big one, right? I think it's also kind of a misguided understanding of like what Christianity and like spirituality actually is. Because it's like, well, if you actually talk to an atheist and you're like, well, you know, the spiritual exists, they kind of don't really have, they can't really counter that. They can, maybe they can counter the God argument of like, well, maybe there's not one single thing, but they can't really counter the spiritual, because it's like, well, we have a number of things that prove it to be real, right? Right. Primarily like psychedelic experiences, things like DMT, which have been recorded to have like, you know, shared experiences, collective experiences, right? And you hear all about these reports of people like using these chemicals and being like cured of like things like PTSD and depression, right? Furthermore, again, and I'll say it again, the CIA, like the government, right, through rigorous trials of hundreds of thousands of people, right, they discovered that the spiritual world does exist, and they're also proved that they're psychics, right? People that, you know, if you ask them like, hey, what is underneath this card?
Yeah, can you explain Project Stargate a little? We're just getting into that. So
sure.
Please.
Yeah. So Project Stargate was, I believe, during the 60s, around the same time as MK Ultra. Group of basically CIA scientists decided to experiment with things like astral projection and the spiritual, right, in usage of warfare primarily. And some of the things that they found was that there are people that could astral project out of their bodies and go to like a place in Russia and find bases in Russia for them, and it'd be like perfect coordinates. Wow. Like, and you could say like, well, that's just a lucky guess. It's like, well, it's recorded, number one, number two, that's like a 1 in a trillion chance, right? And they would then like scout it out and it would ultimately be perfect, right? And like they would find it later and ultimately be perfect. Another aspect of it was they would find this is something I've heard. I don't know if this is Project Stargate, but it's people that would have cards, for example, right? And you'd ask them like, well, what card is underneath this, like, you know? And they would ask them that. And there's a certain portion of people that can actually guess within a range that's not statistically like a margin of error of something being of the cards being correct. So it'd be like, you know, Ace of Spades, you know, fucking Queen of Hearts, right? Whatever. So that proves that there's some aspect of the spiritual. And I've heard so many stories from both friends of mine and people I know and other people that I've seen on YouTube. Psych Substance is a big one. I like him. And he, you know, collective shared experiences on DMT from like other rooms, right? And you know, then that's not even including like the near-death experiences of like, you know, being outside of my body and like seeing stuff like that there's no possible way for them to see, right?
This is like The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yeah.
You've seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
It's like with Brad Pitt and all these guys, but they're in World War II, and they're basically just lucid dreaming. They like put pieces of paper inside of a safe, and then the director tries to get the cadets to give the safe the code that's in the safe, things along this nature.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, then there's the question of like, well, if all this is real, it's like, well, why are we not talking about this more? And another very important thing, I actually came up with this theory. I'm going to say this for the first time here. You're getting exclusive. So I think personally that DMT proves the existence of the afterlife, or at least a God, or at least a spiritual world, right? My conclusion to this was I thought about like, well, why does the human brain have a chemical that makes you experience the spiritual and godly, right, in only 3 circumstances, right? Why does it have this hormone that basically makes you experience the afterlife? And it only happens 3 times.
Born, dead,
and dreaming. Dreaming. So I've heard. So
I've heard too. Sorry, that's just how I was like.
Yeah. So
when you're born, when you die, and then.
So when you're born, you can make the argument of like, well, maybe it's supposed to like enhance your like, I don't know, the way you think, right? So it's supposed to like give you a learning experience. Basically, if it was with born and dreaming, my conclusion would be just, well, it has to do with what's it called?
I would say like an instinctual protective mechanism.
Not even that. I would say memory. I was going to say memory.
Okay.
So it's like the ability to like implant memories in your brain, the ability to learn from your mistakes. Because people, a lot of times, will come back from DMT trips or like dreams, and they'll have like these prophetic things that are, you know, you could argue if you're an atheist and say, well, those are just subconscious, you know, manifestations of what you know you need to do, or like, you know, because the human brain, by the way, processes like a shitload of information that you don't really know about consciously. It's like 95, like some ridiculous number, right? 95% of it, right? If you've ever read the book Blink, you'll definitely understand that. It's a great book, by the way, by Malcolm Gladwell. Everyone should read that. And it talks all about how the human brain processes everything at like the blink of an eye, right? Quicker than that even. So it's like you can make that argument if it was just dreaming and it was just birth, right? It was just about learning and making memories, but death. It's like, well, what?
Why there?
Well, yes, correct. And so it's like, well, what reasoning would, by the way, DMT is produced in like the majority of your body. It's like your lungs, your pancreas, your liver, and primarily your brain though. And it's produced in like over 70% of all living organisms on Earth, right? Or something to that effect, organic life, right? It's like, everything from plants to people. And it's like, well, why is this thing found fucking everywhere, right? And
what's the usefulness of it? Why would
why would a thing that's produced in death? It's like, well, if you think about it, nothing should be produced in death. You should just die, right? Because if you think about it, it's like, well, what use does an organism have? Because the whole point, if you argue that and this is the Darwinist atheist perspective,
that's what I was going at.
Of the whole purpose of human life is to reproduce and survive. It's just to fuck, fight, and basically just to reproduce and survive. And to do that to no end.
And eat.
That's the Darwinist atheist paradigm. Now, where that falls apart is when you factor in a chemical that's produced specifically when you're suffocating or when you die, which is kind of like the same thing. But it's like, well, why? And there actually is no logical answer. You can't say, well, there's a survival benefit. There is no survival benefit. Like, what the fuck? You're gonna die. It's like
true.
So it's like the only conclusion. And by the way, again, in 70% of organisms, and we don't know what it does. It's like, well, somebody's hiding something. I'm not going to point fingers, but it's like somebody's got to be hiding something. It's like saying like we don't know what estrogen does. It's like you'd be like, what the fuck?
Very true.
It's like why? Well, why do we?
Know what everything else does?
Yeah, but not this one chemical.
Yeah.
That's produced, by the way, in a part of your brain that becomes calcified through like most industrial chemicals. Your pineal gland. So it's like, well, what's the conclusion? The conclusion is that the spiritual is real. Now, what aspects and what facets of the spiritual is real, like whether it's this God or that God, that's a little bit more complicated. I mean, I personally believe in the Christian God based on the historical testament of Jesus. Right. I also think that, morally he's probably the best leader, objectively. Everything that and I believe that if you supplement basically everything he says with like just minor adjustments, you can run a society off that. But with that being said, though, it's like you can prove the spiritual very easily through this one chemical.
Oh, even with that,
just with this, right? I mean, not even including the whole historical record of Jesus, because that's again also a much more controversial, much more complicated discussion. The DMT thing, it's like, well, what's the answer? There is no answer. There literally can't be any other answer than the spiritual is real, right? The CIA proved the exact same thing, right? And it's also funny because out-of-body experiences tend to be very correlated with the usage of DMT, right? I'm pretty sure Julian tried ayahuasca as well. He spoke about that on another podcast, like out-of-body experience. Michael from Vsauce, it's out-of-body. Yeah. But the conclusion is the spiritual is real. But it's like, well, why has this been suppressed? I don't know.
Yeah, why hidden? Why suppressed?
Yeah, I do wonder to what extent like there's a benefit of like pharmaceutical industries to like suppress something like that. I would say that's a pretty big one.
I would see them the same reason that they would stop like the prescription of mushrooms because it's doing what you're saying. It creates an ego death and has people self-realize who they actually are inside. And not that they
realize that God is real, or the spiritual is real, that the afterlife might be real. Because another thing too is like, here's a weird one, but it's like the modern society, an industrialized society, can only truly exist in an atheist paradigm, right? Because if you factor in like a truly spiritual paradigm of like there is an afterlife, there is a world beyond this, and like
then you can't even question if there's a religion or not because you just believe that there's an afterlife.
Well, beyond that, it's the Jordan Peterson quote of like, well, your actions. It's like, well, because it was Jordan Peterson was like asked about an afterlife, and I think he kind of gave a shitty answer in this context, but I'll apply it here. It's your actions echo through eternity, where it's like everything you do now actually matters. The atheist paradigm can only of nothing matters. I can do whatever I want. Because by the way, the logical conclusion of atheism is hedonism, right? Or LaVeyan Satanism, which is kind of the same thing, right? It's just
what was the prefix you put on Satanism?
LaVeyan.
What's
Anton LaVey? He's the founder of the Church of Satan. Yeah. So
I didn't hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a form of Satanism. There's different forms of Satanism. There's different sects, but because if you actually have read the Satanic Bible, which I was going to say I recommend people do so they actually understand it.
Albert Pike?
Yeah. I don't know as much about him.
Didn't he write that?
It's been a while since I've studied Freemasonry and Satanism.
He might. Okay.
He was the Freemason guy.
One of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, again, like the what's it called? Well, yeah. So with LaVeyan Satanism, his whole philosophy, religion, because it is religion. They do believe in the spiritual. People think it's like an atheist thing. Oh, the Church of Satan.
No.
It's not. It's all just witchcraft, basically.
They worship Satan.
Yeah.
The same way normal people worship God.
Yeah, well, they worship it in a weird way. They worship basically as like a pantheistic, God is real, but God is bad, and like Satan is good, and just cast spells to get everything you want, right? It's funny. It's like, and it's something I've pointed out where it's like when people get all the power in the world, they tend to become children a lot of times. Yeah. Not always, and this is another thing. Power is not inherently bad. It's just a matter of who's using it, and power for the sake of power is evil. It's not power itself that's evil. Now, anyways, LaVeyan
True, it's like it's like having a gun. The gun doesn't kill people. The people kill people. The power doesn't kill anyone. The power doesn't do the thing. It's the people with the power that are actually
right. Well, again, it's power for the sake of power is evil. I think that's bad.
Yeah.
It's like, let's say you want to build a lake. You don't have to become emperor of the galaxy to build a lake. You can just be mayor. You just be mayor. Like create a reserve, create a nature preserve. Like you just be mayor of the town, right? That's a healthy level of power. That's a reasonable goal that you can reach. Become, I don't know, the best soccer player in the world. That's a pretty, not easy, but like that's a pretty simple goal. It's like once you reach that, it's like, well, you can't really, you can do better than yourself, but it's like beyond that, it's like, okay, just continue this path, right? But anyways, the logical conclusion of atheism is hedonism, which is actually what you see in modern society, right? It's just this endless obsession with, a lack of purpose, and the conclusion is like, well, if there's no purpose and there's no point to my actions, why don't I just do whatever I want, right? And it's like, well, why don't I just do whatever feels good, right? And this is something that Viktor Frankl talks about. A man without purpose will just seek pleasure, right? It makes sense. It's like, well, when you don't have community, again, this gets back to industrialization, right? When you don't have a sense of community, when you don't have a reason to believe in God because your society tells you that there is no God, and that if you believe it, then it's like, you're basically believing in magic, right? It's like a mythology. It's like, well, what's the difference between the Christian God and like the Greek gods, like, all that. It's like there's no God, so there's no afterlife. There's no greater purpose that you can provide to people, right, in your society, because there's no community. There's nobody that you can like live for or die for. There's no ideology that you can live and die for. It's like, well, what do you do? Well, you still need to believe in something, so you end up just believing in Darwinism. And Darwinism states just do whatever feels good. It's just endlessly have sex, do whatever's good for you. Right, basically. It's like,
procreate, live your best life is what that's saying.
Yeah, it's just basically have an endless amount of sex with as many women or men as you possibly can. Do whatever feels good to you.
No judgment of character by anyone. You can do whatever you like. No moralistic viewpoints that are going to be...
Well, I'll disagree. There is a moral viewpoint. It's...
In Darwinism?
Yeah, there's one thing. It is whatever benefits the species. So therefore, anything that does not benefit the species is evil. That's the only thing that's evil in Darwinism. So... I would give an
because it would get faded out if it doesn't benefit the species.
Yeah, exactly. So like a great example of this would be like, murder. Now, just killing a fucking billion people would still be wrong in Darwinism. This is where a lot of people people tend to see it the wrong way, where it's like in Darwinism, they're like, oh, well, what's it called? There's no morality ever. There is a morality. But it's just whoever is the strongest, basically.
True, it wouldn't be right for the species to kill 1 million of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Overall, for the species, that's not good. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. It's but yeah, no, that's the logical conclusion of that argument. It's just like, well, why? What? I don't know. Like, let's say you kill someone, and it's like you take all his stuff, and it's like people can't say that's wrong because it's like, well, I took his stuff. It's mine now. I was stronger than him, so therefore I'm the superior person. I was smarter than him. I took his shit, and therefore I'm in the moral right. The only morality is just based on who's the strongest and who's the weakest. And if you're in the weakest, that sucks. Like, but it's like, if you're the strongest, well, I just get whatever I want, right? Which again, it kind of circles back to industrialized society, where it's like there's no expression of power. There's no healthy expression of power. Like, what can you or I do in our own lives that really express power? The answer is nothing. Right? And in a healthy masculine way, I mean, like, yeah, sure, we could work out, but it's like, how many people consistently work out, right? Including me. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh,
the right answer though is to start a family and get involved in the community.
Well, the answer is to become personally powerful.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. Build your own.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Build your own thing. But again,
nobody does this.
Yeah, well, because the industrialized world, the modern world, basically preaches against that. Yeah. I do wonder to what extent it's kind of an instinctual thing versus to what extent it's a cultural thing that we become the way that we are. Because have you heard of the experiment Mass Utopia?
No.
Okay. This is a big one.
Please.
So, Mass Utopia was an experiment done in the 70s. I forget by who, but basically, it's it asked the question: if you gave an animal everything it wanted, how would it act?
Oh, okay, maybe I have heard of this.
And so they put 52 mice, 52 men, 52 female mice. Put them together. And
good time.
Yeah, exactly. You give them all the resources they want, right? You give them infinite resources, metaphorically. I mean, there's no such infinity.
Unlimited
but
cheese or whatever you want to imagine for these rats.
Mice. Yeah, so you put them together. What happens? Well, then 2,500, give or take, mice are eventually born after a couple months. They ran through the experiment like 30 times in a row to make sure it was 100% correct. And the answer was the same every time, which is that the mice all end up committing suicide. Right, basically, I mean, that's a very, 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 very large oversimplification.
I get you.
The details of it include, first of all, everyone becomes super autistic. That's, by the way, the words of the scientist. I'm not using that word facetiously. And this is before autism was like a super common thing. They all developed like a form of autism, social issues. There was like a portion of like male mice that would have sex with like all the female mice, and then the majority of male mice were like basically virgins, right? They couldn't like get any other mice, right?
There was familiar.
Yeah, there was some mice that would try and have kids, right? And then there was like these gangs of evil mice that would go and like kill all the mice that were having kids, right? And kill their children and beat the shit out of them, right? And if you were having like there was like a portion of mice that were like trying to keep the species alive that would get the shit beaten out of them. And it's like, well, to what extent is that like also happening now, right? And the mice, by the way, would like just engage in like whatever debauchery they wanted because there was no purpose, right? There was no greater will to survive. There was no sense of community because it's like, well, if you want to really be like cynical, it's like, well, what is most community derived from? It's like your purpose. It's like your use basically of doing things, right? And it's like people stick together so long as they have a need for each other. But when you remove all need for everybody else, everything fucking falls apart.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so that's
crazy. Yeah. I've heard of something similar where if you give a rat or a mouse, was it drugs? It was a drug of some sort, but
Coke.
It's cocaine.
Rat utopia, rat heaven. It's a very.
Are these the same things?
No, these are different things. It's
Mice-topia is
Mouse utopia is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You're talking about rat heaven. Rat heaven is more to do with drug addiction, but it's a similar thing of like when a person lacks community, they seek pleasure, which is kind of actually, funnily enough, very related.
Yeah.
But when you have infinite resources, which metaphorically what we have, we don't have infinite resources. Yeah. And when you have a lot of overcrowding, right, especially in big cities, the answer is everyone kind of becomes depressed and suicidal and doesn't know what to do and doesn't want to interact with anybody else. And you'd think like, well, if everyone's with each other, everyone needs to be together. It's like, no.
Yeah, if people click off and go into their own individual things.
Yes, exactly. And as a result, we developed this like very weird society where it's like everyone's together and everyone has the ability to talk to each other and nobody wants to talk to each other.
Completely separated,
right. The only people that anybody actually wants to talk to are like the ultra important people. And then, like, nobody else.
And they don't want to talk to you guys.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
if you're ultra important, that's the last people you want to talk to.
So the answer is, and that's actually a sign of, like, another sign of, like, societal collapse where it's, like, elite overproduction. Where it's, like, everyone wants to become an elite because, like, this is the only way to have, like, an even remotely fun life. Right, is by becoming the richest, most successful possible imaginable person. Right. Yeah. Originally, it was just, well, can I have a white picket fence, 2 kids and a wife, and it's like, well, then I'm happy. It's like now, what is a modern paradigm? What is it? It's
I
like,
need everything.
Well, it's think about it too. It's like what can you and I even inherit? I mean, like for me, right? It's like, I can't buy my own house. Right. I mean, maybe I could if I can't really fucking.
I understand. One day, if you work incredibly hard and get, But
that whole paradigm is destroyed.
Yeah.
Because now it's like you can't buy your own house. You might not be able to find a wife, right? Because everyone's just hooking up.
You can't live on your own, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's like you're kind of eternally, renting everything. So it's like, what do you do? And it's like, what greater purpose do you serve? Well, then the answer is just, okay, well, I'm just going to go hook up with every girl. I'm going to hook up with every guy. It's like
you go into the indulgences immediately. Yeah.
And then the answer for someone who can't even do that is just suicide, which is where you get incels who also try to mate suppress and turn basically lower everyone down. You know what mate suppression is?
Meat suppression?
Mate suppression.
No, I'm assuming putting the words together, but
it's basically a way of reducing competition so that you can do better. On a personal level, there's a lot of benefits. It's fucked up. I mean, it's not a good thing to do. It's not a morally good thing to do, but there is benefits to the person. If you go to a person and you basically just ruin their chances of getting with someone else, right? So
cock block.
Yeah, basically cock blocking.
You looked at me like, oh, this guy knows what male suppression is.
Well, that's what it is. It's like, and it's very intentional. It's like, the infamous, like, fridge hides the snacks sort of thing, where it's like, well, I don't want this girl to have this guy, or, I don't want this guy. I don't want these people to be happy, basically, because then I'm not happy. Then my competition is increased. Now I have to work even harder. It's like, fuck that. I'm just going to make everybody else worse.
Bring them down to my level.
Yes. So then this way I can have a chance to succeed.
Wow.
Right? And on a societal level, that's horrible.
That is. On a personal level, you get a lot of gain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, on a societal level, it's like one of the worst possible things you can do, because it's like, well, now everyone's kind of mate suppressing each other, which is what incels are.
Which is the hedonism, like the not caring about anything.
Yeah. Well, again, it's the incel. Well, that's like the incel paradigm of like, well, I can't win, so it's like, why not just ruin everybody else's life, right? And it's like, because then I'll have a higher chance of sleeping with a girl, right? Because then everybody else, even the most attractive men, are ugly, right? It's also a rationalization for just kind of like suffering, as opposed to, just working harder, right? Yeah. That's a big part of the thing. It's like, most of what people do is like rationalizations, right? It's like logical.
To themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever seen there's a book, The Fourth Turning?
I've heard of it. Julian talks about it.
Oh, really?
He talked about it like recently. Okay. It's about like the fall of civilization.
It's basically describing what you're saying. Like, it's basically this quote: "Weak times make hard men. Hard men make soft times. Soft times make hard men again."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just this infinite loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, life is out of pocket sometimes.
Yeah.
Hello there. Sorry to interrupt this beautifully produced podcast, but I'd like to remind you to like, follow, subscribe, share, turn those notifications on. If you like what you're listening to, share with a friend. Share with your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, your neighbor. If you don't like what you're listening to, I really don't know what to tell you. This episode is brought to you in part by Lizards of America, the American lizard. If you want a lizard, you know where to hit us up.
If you are a lizard.
Sorry. You know where to hit us up.
You're already with us.
Yeah.
If you
don't want to like what you're listening to, don't report us to the lizards.
If you need a lizard.
If you need a lizard.
That's actually our main business.
Now let's get back into the show.
What do Satanists believe? Like something like that?
We could get into that.
Well, what Satanists...
Oh, no, we covered that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I don't think I actually said the true belief, but I'll say it here. I mean, the Satanic Bible kind of lays it out pretty clearly. The true belief of Satanism is do as thou wilt, right? It is, and this is something again, LaVeyan Satanism. I don't know every sect of Satanism, but that's like, a lot of people say there's like a difference. LaVeyan Satanism, which is one of the more mainstream forms of Satanism, not without getting into like the whole like the karma, the inversion, whatever. LaVeyan Satanism basically believes that the highest God there is carnal flesh. It's your flesh and it's your pleasures. It's like, which the logical conclusion of that is just do whatever feels good, which is even worse than Darwinism, right? It's not even Darwinism. Darwinism is basically do whatever is good for the species. Yeah. Satanism is do whatever.
Good for myself.
Not even, it's do whatever feels good to you, which is even worse, right? Which that
doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It just feels good.
Right, exactly, which logically allows a lot of things that are really terrible, objectively, both as a society and on a personal level. Pedophilia is a big one, right? Yeah. That would allow. It would allow, because technically on paper, it's like, well, just whatever feels good. Yeah. That's right. It's like grooming a child.
Anything, yes.
It's like, if that feels good, then it's like, well, then that's in the right. Yeah. In the eyes of a Satanist, right? The eyes of a Christian, they say, well, no, that's wrong. You're fucking hurting a kid.
Of course, yeah.
And it's like, well, Satanists just say, well, does it feel good? Okay, then it's right.
Yeah.
Right? That's it's an extension of it's a similar thing to Darwinism, but it's a little bit inverted.
Yeah, no, it's completely,
Yeah.
Evolution for the species is totally different than your own personal gain, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's not even about your personal gain. It's about just indulging yourself in bad shit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do wonder where everything extends.
Have you debated a Satanist?
I've yet to do so. I'm I would be happy to.
You debate a lot of people?
Not a lot. I debate. Well, the person I normally debate are usually like my close friends, and we usually
my homies.
Yeah. Well, usually we'll play devil's advocate for various ideologies that we don't necessarily agree with.
That's a real debate, though.
Yeah. And so we'll really try and iron out points and arguments, which is very interesting. My friends are fun to debate with.
Yeah, on your podcast, you do debates?
No, not yet. Okay. I'm going to be hosting debates soon on another show I host, the LBGP show. Yeah.
Yeah. We could be looking out for that soon.
Yeah. Well, it's already up. It's just I have to.
You don't promote it, right?
Yeah.
Cool. You want to tell the people where they could find you?
At GorgP21, Instagram. Let me think where else. LinkedIn. I have like 10,000 followers on LinkedIn.
That's solid.
Thank you. My YouTube is at George Peyrouton. Let me think. Those are like the big ones. My Instagram. I don't really plug my Snapchat. It's like if you know me, you know me.
Yeah.
Let me think. What else?
There's going to be millions of people flooding these things.
I hope so. I'm gonna be disappointed if they aren't. No. But yeah, no. Those are the places people can find me.
Cool. Thank you for coming, bro. We have to talk again.
I agree.
I'm with my co-host. I don't even have my co-host here. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thank you for coming, bro.
No problem.
Everybody, like, follow, subscribe. All of his things are going to be in the link and description below. Follow us. Thank you, guys.
No problem.